group of rock star women we have up here on the panel. It must be my birthday or something.
It is his birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Oh, shucks. Okay, we're going to kick it off with a question to Judy. Oh, actually, before we do that, we're going to do some intros from the bottom on down to the back.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Aragon. I'm the Vice President of Brand Marketing and Strategy at Spectrum Reach.
Hello, I'm Emily Twomey, CMO of Razorfish, and we are marketing transformation. Most of our clients work with business to consumer.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Harms. I'm the VP of Ads Marketing and Measurement at Roku. And thank you for joining us here today. We're very happy to host.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenna Silver. I'm SVP of Industry Marketing for the U.S. ad sales business at TelevisaUnivision, ensuring that our Spanish language media offering is well represented in our ad buying marketplace.
Hi everyone, I'm Judy Lee. I'm the Senior Director of Global Brand Experiences at Pinterest, and I'm part of the Pinterest House of Creative, and we work across all of our audiences.
And I'm John Taranto. As you guys know, I'm working right now at media.net as an advisor. Very excited. And we're going to kick it off with the first question for Judy and Jenna. How have you created memorable and impactful experiences at tentpoles, whether they are large-scale events or more intimate events?
So I'll start on this one and pass the mic. So for us, as you may imagine at Pinterest, we are super value our creative and design. And so over the last few years, we started to bring all of our creative in-house because we feel like no one cares more about the design than we do, as well as our audiences. And then, probably as expected for this room of marketers, we really think about what are the challenges we're trying to solve, both for ourselves and for our audience. And then we also like to consider both the context and where we are and what are some pain points for the audiences we're trying to serve. So for instance, at Cannes Lion, we know that there are a ton of talks that happen throughout the whole festival. And being who we are, we really decided how might we bring more creativity back to the festival. And our overall B2B creative strategy is to unboring B2B. And so you'll see that across all of our different touch points in terms of how we show up. We really have that at the heart of what we do. So for our global tech summit ad summit that we had called Pinterest Presents, if you may have seen that, we've now transformed that into a 1-hour film and made that really entertaining. And we saw very little to no drop off, which is unheard of for an hour-long program. And then at Cannes, we really started to bring back, a lot of our story is around inspiration to action. And so we brought our consumer journey to life because we know there are a lot of CMOs or agency leaders who may not actually use Pinterest. So we tried to bring that to life IRL and then invite our clients along to check it out. And so far, it's been really successful.
It's amazing if you haven't checked out what Pinterest is doing at Cannes.
That's amazing retention.
So for us at TelevisaUnivision, we're in this interesting position because we are the leading Spanish language media and content company in the world. And yet here in the US, we have this challenge whereby probably only about 13 to 15% of the advertising industry and ad buying community are Hispanic, speak Spanish, understand our content and culture and the community that we serve. So one of the things that we are super focused on is, of course, within our go-to-market narratives and storytelling and sales enablement, focusing on rational storytelling, focusing on making the business case for why Hispanic and why Spanish language media. But in addition to that, we also know how important it is to embed our client community in the culture, in the community, and ensure that they walk away with that emotional understanding of the community that we serve. And to do that, it's really about embedding them in events that bring the brand to life. Casa Cultura was the theme of our upfront this year, something that really built on momentum we've had over many years in immersing our clients in the culture. But beyond that, we actually took it across the pond to Cannes this year. It was our first large-scale, for us, activation in Cannes. And what we did with Casa Cultura in Cannes was bring not just a Latin artist in Raul Alejandro, who was fresh off the Governance Ball stage, a tremendous rising star within Latin music, but we also brought Diplo, because Diplo is a global star, certainly, but what Diplo speaks to is the power of Latin music on the global stage. And his music, his collabs, what he builds within his DJ sets really represents the power of our culture and the community that we represent to influence mainstream culture, particularly in music, but certainly well beyond. And for our first foray at Cannes, I was really proud of the event that we created in sort of bringing that dichotomy and that narrative together.
Awesome, thank you very much. Well, since we can't be on the beach at Cannes all the time, well, maybe some of us can, I can't. What type of activities are you doing in between the big temple events? Like, what's that connective tissue that is going from temple to temple? And how are you staying in front of marketers and brands that are important to you? And this question is going to go over to, we'll start off with Judy, and then Emily, and Sarah from Roku. Thank you again for having us.
Sure. One of the things I like to say is if there's no tent between the tent poles, then you just have fallen sticks. And so you really want to think about that connective tissue between the tent poles. And so for many people, for what we do, we think about, okay, what are those big moments? How do we align product launches or newsworthy moments at those tentpole moments? And then the tent between those might be smaller, more curated events, thought leadership, content marketing, and just a lot of one-to-one sales enablement and training. We also have a scaled education tool called Pinterest Academy, which helps people as soon as they learn about something that we may announce, then we'll follow up with ads or having our sales folks share that. So then people can learn how to get on that. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have that tent, or again, the tent poles are kind of these standalone programs.
Thank you. Emily.
Hi. So I would say what we do is, when I came into Razorfish at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, we really had to retrain the company how to think about tent poles. And the idea used to be like, yay, went to the tent pole, that was a success, we're exhausted, let's just go back to work. But it's really retraining. It's like, okay, that's when the heavy lifting begins, is the day after the tent pole. And, to do that, we have the next 3 months after the tent pole really planned out when we go in, what those touch points are. So, combination of webinars, combination of regional dinners in different cities, content, marketing, and also one-on-one reach outs. But what has been most successful is, we have to drive the conversation to a deeper level. So every conversation that we start at the tent pole, because we're marketing services, we have to get to know who we think are our clients and our prospects more intimately. So we do that by really scheduling our, research-led thought leadership around tent poles. So not to, throw it back to Cannes, but that is amazing. We partnered with Pinterest there, and it was all about, yes, how do you bring this inspiration, to real life? And we developed research around how does Gen Alpha do that and how does Gen Z do that. So we're really able to take this audience and continue the conversation deeper and deeper for the next few months and kind of get to know how we can work with our clients.
Yeah, I heard a lot of consistent themes we of course have our tentpole events, and we have something called the media calendar here at Roku, where we really kind of set ourselves up for the year, even a year in advance. So we might not know exactly what we want to talk about, but we have a good sense of kind of the themes of each tentpole and what we want to land there, and then have that kind of steady stream of consciousness of knowing that's what's coming and having our entire executive team rallied around that. So that's been really a successful framework for us. And then I completely agree. We unfortunately don't have the luxury of Pinterest Beach, which is amazing. But we certainly have our tentpole events, and we want to make sure we are always top of mind for our customers in the B2B space. But like Judy said, and Jenna said, sometimes our customers don't look like the average Roku customer. And so we need to, of course, do some education through our amazing data footprint, which affords us amazing insights. So we have a good sense of what the average American or Canadian or Mexican is watching, and that looks very different from a chief investment officer. And so we, of course, do mostly B2B within my role, but we need to treat our B2B customers like consumers and understand how they make decisions, because ultimately, We think Roku is amazing as a streaming platform, but also as an advertising destination for consumers and for brands. And so really making sure we use our tentpoles as much as possible. They're expensive, they're a ton of work, but you need to make sure, like you said, to keep that momentum going all year round. Otherwise, it's just a big expensive hangover.
Thank you very much. And it is a big expensive hangover for all of us. It will be after today, too. It's hard to get people's attention, right? Michelle, we haven't heard from you yet. And I'd love to hear, how do you think about your media mix of tentpoles, smaller events, print, other types of media, and, interesting ways that you're trying to reach the audience? That's better. Here we go.
So it's interesting being kind of like a buy-side marketer in a sell-side organization. Everything that this incredible panel has already expressed is kind of what we're all dealing with on a day-to-day basis, which makes kind of B2B marketing a very complex space. We've shifted since I've been on board for about 4 years, and B2B tended to be very focused on kind of lower funnel conversion. How did we shift our strategy into being more of a full funnel approach, which is looking at all of those expensive visibility awareness driving events like the tentpole events, looking at segmentation in your customer journey across all touch points, both online and offline, and really trying to connect and find those moments that matter. For us at Spectrum Reach, it's even a little bit more complicated because we service businesses of all sizes. Our multi-screen solutions are for small business, local kind of coffee shops in our 91 markets that we serve, but we also service, regional, mid-size, and all the way up to holdco level agencies. And so those are very different personas and very different ways of approaching them. So yes, we tend to look at things not only from, what are those moments that matter, but how are we activating against those both in a pre, during, and post capacity. So I think maybe you said, Sarah, the thought leadership, that's very important. And so how are we looking at a mix of earned and paid? And so how are we also amplifying with our paid social media to boost that as kind of like a tailwind going into those tentpole events for our sales organization to really help with those conversations that they might be having. The other thing that we really do that I think is really important is finding those local, very unique local experiences. So like for instance, here in New York, we did a very intimate For Charles dinner, which by the way, it's like become legendary already. So we definitely need to keep doing those. But, and also taking advantage of our owned assets. So we have Spectrum News. And so we had an event where we clearly had people invited, and they did a behind the scenes tour with Pat Kiernan, who is just like a celebrity here in New York, and everybody just loved it. And so managing, like I said, that kind of online and offline in a 360 capacity is challenging, but it's the way that we approach the entire year and everything that we do to reach all of those audiences at all of those moments that matter.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would just add, I think all of what everyone has said thus far is super smart and on strategy with what we do as well, because it really is about having a steady drumbeat between all of these pivotal moments throughout the year. But I think for us, one of the big challenges I think in our business is that we are a challenger brand in the sort of traditional broadcast, now streaming landscape, because we have to convince marketers as to the value of investing in Spanish language, investing in new capabilities, which, our job is to help guide them through that process. But nonetheless, you have a market that is really grossly underestimated and underserved, making up 20% of the population, but only garnering about 2% of advertisers' spend. So much of what we do is, of course, instilling confidence in the holdcos and the big brands that are already doing great things with us, but also still trying to woo major companies that you all see every day in your day-to-day consumer experience and certainly day-to-day business experience who are as yet doing business with us and investing in not just reaching Hispanic audiences, but connecting with Spanish audiences. So it's that education piece, and it's also the access piece. So I will give a shout out to Brand Innovators here because having partnerships like the one we have with Brand Innovators does allow us to sort of zero in on key prospects and key accounts that, we just want a seat at the table with them to really state our business case and showcase the value of our business and our audience and our solutions. And, partnerships like that do offer the opportunity to sit with the people who we think can move the business forward. So I think beyond thought leadership, which we've heard about, beyond these big events, beyond our own events, bringing clients into our own IP, coming to soccer tournaments, coming to our live music award shows, having those opportunities throughout the year to gain access to the people who will move the needle is also really critically important for us.
That's great, and we do love the folks at Brand Innovators. Just a follow-up question on that, like thinking about, and this came up, so sorry, but like thinking about earned and paid, and like some of the newer movies that are out these days, like there's even like a horror movie that's out right now that barely spent any money on advertising. It was all earned media and utilizing social. Is that more of an effort and more of a focus as we're heading into next year? Is there any examples of like earned?
Well, so I guess I can start. We really focus on an owned first approach because we're in the position of having owned inventory that we can use to advertise Spectrum Reach, which is amazing, and that's so great. But we can't just rely purely on our owned inventory, so we have to go externally, and we do various things, whether that's programmatically buying CTV, online video, digital, social, in a paid perspective, and even digital out of home has been really something to kind of help us amplify in those kind of, again, those moments that matter and around our tentpole events. And so, yeah, that media mix is really learned. Earned is kind of like a different animal, right? Because sometimes, as we all know, and there are different speaking engagements or things that you want to do, you have to kind of pay this, But with that said, we've noticed that we've been getting a lot of earned traction. So once you kind of start making those investments, it really does pay off. Because again, and Jenna, you mentioned the getting to know. That's similar to Spectrum Reach. We've been a local powerhouse for a very long time, but we need to reintroduce our positioning of built for what's now and what's next to new audiences, because not everybody thinks about us like that. They think about us still in maybe like a local cable capacity. And so again, having that paid and earned on top, as another layer to the strategic work that we're doing and the planning that we're doing is needed so that everything's kind of working.
Flywheel.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I have one build to that because I think also similarly, owned is definitely at the forefront of our strategy. And, we don't want to fall in the trap of following the false god of something going viral. And so, but at the core of that, as I mentioned, unboring B2B is a big part of our strategy, and that does create a lot of buzz. We met with the editors of Adweek and from Cannes. As you can see, I have a lot of tattoos, and we started this at Cannes where we were doing free tattoos. And my CMO first said, "Are you crazy? The first year we did this, why would anyone get a tattoo at Cannes?" But sure enough, that was a thing that had queues going starting at 7 a.m. No one wakes up at 7 a.m. But they were queuing up for a chance at a free tattoo. And so this past year, and obviously our comms team does a great job of working and building relationships with an editor. Adweek's best performing video content from the week was one of their social editors saying, "I got a tattoo at Cannes," and that just outperformed everything because it was so unexpected. It's like, wait, what? It kind of gives that sort of sense. So we try to do that by leading with a lot of our creative, and obviously I'm biased because I'm on the creative team, and that's kind of at the heart of where we think we can get more earned media.
I was wondering where I got that foam magnum-sized tattoo of a bottle of rosé. Something like that.
That's right.
You can tell my wife now where I got it. So thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome from Pinterest.
I can't believe that the holidays right around the corner. Halloween's a couple days from now, and it's almost 2025. It's crazy to even say it. But heading into the new year, are you planning on going bigger with your brand presence, or are you leaning towards more intimate and curated experiences? And Emily, I'll kick it over to you, and Judy, if you want to pick up.
So when I came out to Razorfish, end of 2023, beginning of 2024, we were very much focused on demand generation. So it was like, let's build the MarTech, let's build the process, and what we really need to do, as kind of Ms. Michelle said, is prove out that pay for play or going to these sponsorships is going to create revenue. So once we're able to do that and say, yes, we're actually tapping into an audience, they're engaging with us, and we're acquiring net new logos, of course the CEO and CFO are delighted to hear that. But now in 2025 is the time to kind of turn the conversation and say, well, we've proved that out, but by doing such targeted mid-funnel, bottom-of-funnel, we're missing a huge part of our audience. It's like, yes, that's our clients, that's net new revenues, but we're not getting in front of our partners, we're not getting in front of publications, we're not getting in front of press, and we're not getting in front of analysts. So, that has to be evened out. So definitely 2025 is going to be, equal attention, activating the Razorfish brand in the marketplace while, still holding steady on the demand generation.
Thank you.
Great. And to answer that, are we going bigger with our brand presence or more intimate and customized? And the answer is both, because it really depends. Like, we're trying to reach multiple audiences. We know our execs and CMO C-suite love more intimate audiences. And then we know the practitioners that might actually be more influential in the day-to-day media decisions are going to want something a little bit different. And so, as we were mentioning about temple strategies and like what's the full-on mix, being at those larger moments or thinking about marketing at scale is really important, because that will get to a more efficient spend when we look at the entire plan. But then being at those verticalized moments, especially where we have a strong offering for different verticals, those are just as important when we think about the shop talks of the world for retailers. And or having a blend of owned and sponsored strategies as well. But you do just need to work that much harder if you're going to have an owned event, because that's a tax on your audience's time, as opposed to being at a sponsored moment where they're already going to be, because we like to be where they're already going to be at events like Brand Innovators. And then if we are going to invite them to an owned moment, we have an event series called Pinvision that we really want to make it as interesting as possible. And last year we took a risk, although I'm not sure we'll do it again, but we did something in our Canada and UK markets that I call it's like immersive actor-led theater. And so it was just something totally different. I can't remember. Oh yeah, it was what I called Sleep No More meets an Ad Summit. So without the sexy.
Don't go upstairs.
That's right, exactly. And so it was a risk, and we'll keep doing that. But in that way, we are building this reputation of you don't know what to expect, or you're going to always get something interesting if you show up for one of our own moments.
Awesome. Thank you. And budgets are getting tighter every year, so we have to pick and choose. And sometimes we've seen marketers and brands building on what they've done the year before, or they blow it out, skip a year, come back and do some more. Awesome. For Sarah, Michelle, and Jenna, how do you see the B2B marketplace evolving in 2025?
Yeah, I think for Roku, something we're really excited about is, like you said, you have kind of your big thing, you blow it out, and then you see what you do the next year. So last year, we said we were the lead into television. So people have to come through our front door before they get to the content that they know and love, and that's resonated really well, and it's been kind of a repositioning of the Roku brand. And so I think that's working well, and so now what I think we're doing is some really interesting partnerships to take that further. And so not only are we great for our buyers, we're great for consumers, but increasingly we're great for content partners on our platform. And so hopefully you saw our beautiful Olympics experience. Something like that where we're doing almost kind of a 3-part partnership for the sake of the betterness for customers and publishers on our platform. And so hopefully March Madness, you might have seen Oscars, you might have seen Emmys. And so I just think for us, it's using our brand, but getting really creative with how it comes to life for all the constituents that we serve.
kick it over to Michelle.
Sure, yeah.
Thanks.
I think what's really shifting, and especially in the space that we're in, is kind of outcomes becoming the new CPM. We've been talking about outcomes as marketers for a very long time, but working with, media partners and really being able to deliver that impact that you're looking for, whether that's store visits, purchases, website, whatever the goal is, that's what we're really trying to help. I'm trying to do as the marketer, stitching together all of the things that we just spoke about, what is delivering upon those outcomes that I have, whether it's raising our brand profile, the demand and lead generation that we're looking for to deliver and drive business on behalf of our sales organization. And then, of course, that distribution of thought leadership are kind of like the keys from a marketer perspective. But then again, how are we taking that in a multi-screen attribution approach on behalf of our Spectrum Reaches customers and really being able to share that impact that goes beyond reach that we're delivering, which is crucial because that's really informative to decision making. And so we're already talking about, clearly we're in Q4 and talking about 2025, but we're making decisions that are actually impacting 26 and beyond already. And so I think that's something that we are trying to balance, and a shift, I think, in both the short-term needs to drive that business, but also making that long-term investment from a brand perspective.
Yeah, I'm going to come at this question slightly differently. I think just building off, John, what you said about budgets getting tighter. In addition to that, I think the proliferation of generative AI tools, other AI tools, the amount of vendors that are coming at us as B2B marketers, I think I'm feeling more and more like how our clients feel, just in terms of the sheer volume of solutions that are out there purpose-built for us as B2B marketers. I think ultimately, one of the things I've been really appreciating and communicating is the community that's being built around this sliver of our industry, and the B2B marketers having more opportunities like this. Being IAB's built their B2B Marketing Council, which I think has been a really great resource, and Graham's helped lead that. Thank you, Graham. And I think that having that space to sort of connect, even though we all, in some ways live in competitive universes, but just really more deeply understand what's working, what isn't. So I'm excited for where that continues to go in 2025, and as a, someone who leads a scrappy team, sort of having that, again, community intel resources from our broader industry, people who do the same jobs we do in other places, is really, I think, quite wonderful. So thank you to Brand Innovators for doing this event.
Thank you. I have a question that's going to be around Robin, and then if we have time, we'll take some questions from the audience. Nobody's saying anything. We have 5. Thank you. So this is 2-part, or you can answer it however way you want. So looking ahead to 2025, if it's an advertiser, or if it's a marketer that's brand new, or if it's a company that has been around for 15 years and they're well established within their own circle, but not very well known outside, or there's products that people might not know outside, like media.net. What advice would you give to either? And we'll start here.
So I will just quote Seth Godin, who hopefully many of you know, and he once said, in a crowded marketplace, fitting in is failure. In a busy marketplace, if you don't stand out, you're invisible.
Somebody write that down.
I go back to sort of where I started, that, if you're a challenger brand, you're a new brand in the marketplace. It's very similar to what Judy said. You have to step out of the comfort zone, right? Keeping up with the Joneses, yes, is important, but it's also, you do have to break through. And I think that challenger brand mindset is one that we've always taken. And I think ultimately it's, leading into your why as an organization, and letting that be sort of the guiding principle. And ultimately, if you can do that, then you can feel comfort in taking those risks and stepping out of the comfort zone of what your organization has typically done.
Yeah, I mean, I think at Roku, we deal with this a lot. Roku is a known brand. I think the Roku advertising proposition is maybe less so, or it's often confused with kind of our streaming proposition. And so that's on myself and the team to make sure we clarify what our opportunities are and myth bust. And so I think my advice is know your differentiation so you know where you can stand out, but more importantly, know your blind spots. And also know what your customer thinks about you. And so ultimately, I think I'm constantly seeing some confusion. And so that's almost a weapon for me. I can lean into that and prove them wrong or tell them the right story. And so I think that's where you have to start, is really just understanding what you have to offer. Maybe where, not a weakness, but a blind spot that you haven't often considered. And then using your insights and your data as your best weapon to kind of tell it the right story.
I would say lean into the advantages that you do really have in that situation. So, you're going into a new market or you're a brand new brand or platform. It's like, right now you have all this research you can do to be like, what is the exact story this audience wants to hear from me, and how can I create that? And, and kind of make it bulletproof. Be like, this is our story we're talking about for the next 12 to 18 months. And then I would say the other one is, as you're looking at any event, it could be a tent pole, it could be a regional event, call who the sponsorship director is, and when they send you the list of here's the sponsorship opportunities you have, talk to them, say like, this is what we want out of this event, this is how we want to express our brand, and create a bespoke sponsorship with them. They're always open to saying, okay, what do you want to do that's different, that's not on this list? And, create something that's really going to work for you and connect with your brand. And then, and that's great, because if it's a success, then you do it, you own that year after year, in that event. And then the other one is, you're starting clean. You have no bad data to go through. Record everything, because, we talk about budgets. It's going to happen that, 2 years from now, your CFO, your CMO is going to be like, why are we, spending X amount of dollars at this event? Unless you can pull up, actually, very delightfully happened to me the other day, where I was able to say, oh yes, that net new logo that we closed, that started from a brand innovators conversation at South by Southwest. So, people forget. You think you're going to remember, oh, this great touch point, I met this person here, and that, closed business. But the event's over, it gets forgotten, so record it, and when you get into multiple years and trying to trace that back, that's when it's really valuable.
So for me, standing out is about, we need to ask ourselves the question, what do you want to be known for, right? Like, that's the way to stand out, and especially in a incredibly complex and fragmented and noisy competitive marketplace and ecosystem that we all work in, that's the key. For us, what I mentioned earlier, the built for what's now and what's next positioning, we infuse that in everything we do, in our media, in our creative, in our events, in our sales materials, in our sales storylines, and all of our thought leadership. So that to me is how you get at how you want to stand out.
Thank you for the advice. Really, it's awesome. I like that point of just make a phone call and see what's coming up, see what the agenda is. If it doesn't fit, let's try and make something work. Do we have a minute for a question, or are we're cooked? We're cooked. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you very much for this amazing.